Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies' mamas. Baby mamas. Hey, check this out right here.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Yeah.
Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Forever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Me and your daughter got this thing going on. You say it's popular, we say it's full grown. Hope that we can feel this way forever. You can let it rain and picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Thomas Jackson,
Forever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson,
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies' mamas. Baby mamas. Hey, check this out right here.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Yeah.
Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Forever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Me and your daughter got this thing going on. You say it's popular, we say it's full grown. Hope that we can feel this way forever. You can let it rain and picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Forever.
Thomas Jackson,
Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies' mamas, mamas. Mamas, mamas. Baby mamas, mamas. And check this out right here.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Yeah.
Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Forever, ever, forever, ever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Me and your daughter got this thing going on. You say it's popular, we say it's full grown. Hope that we can feel this way forever. You can let it rain and picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Forever, ever, forever, ever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Forever, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies' mamas, mamas. Mamas, mamas. Baby mamas, mamas. And check this out right here.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Yeah.
Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Thomas Jackson, ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Thomas Jackson, ooh, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Forever, ever, forever, ever.
Thomas Jackson, ooh. Me and your daughter got this thing going on. You say it's popular, we say it's full grown. Hope that we can feel this way forever. You can let it rain and picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Thomas Jackson, ooh.
Forever, ever, forever, ever.
Thomas Jackson, Jackson. I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Forever, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies' mamas, mamas. Mamas, mamas. Baby mamas, mamas. And check this out right here.
Sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Yeah.
I call this session to order. Would any senator like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Senator Kaine, you have the floor.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will now move on to the roll. The secretary may call it.
Okay. Mr. Kaine,
Present.
Mr. Sterling,
Present.
Mr. Caforio, Mr. Caforio.
He said present in game.
Oh. Mr. Webster,
Present.
Mr. Walsh,
Present.
Mr. Woodland,
Present.
Mr. Leo,
Present.
Mr. Anubis. Is he absent? I would assume so. Right, Mr. President Pro Tempore, there are seven senators present, which is means quorum has been attained.
All right. While I'm reading the agenda, can you fix the result? It kind of glitched out and it says everything failed. So I will now read the agenda and then we will vote to approve the agenda. Item number 1, S1119, the Equal Discovery Act, drafted by Senator Leo. Item number 2, S1117, the Federal Electoral Commission Act of 2017, drafted by Senator DaveJMitchell. Item number 3, S1120, Securing America for Everyone Act of 2017, drafted by Senator TerenceWalsh. Item number 4, S1121, the Council Restriction Act of 2017, drafted by Sal 514. Item number 5, S1122, the Armed Forces Reserves Act, drafted by Senator Webby. Item number 6, S1123, the Continuity of Justice Act of 2017, drafted by Senator Walsh. Item number 7, HR 1101, the Sensible Punishment Act, drafted by Representative Colton. Item number 8, HR 1102, the Repeal of the Deregulation of Commerce Act, drafted by Representative Colton. Item number 9, HR 1103, the Election Validation Act, drafted by Representative Colton. And item number 10, HR 1104, the Senate Confirmations Act, drafted by Representative Colton. So we will now vote on this agenda, and the secretary will call the roll.
Mr. President.
I motion to do the vote by voice vote.
Well, I mean, it's
Mr. President.
yes.
I have a motion to add to the agenda.
Sure. Well, I mean, we could add something to the agenda, but we were going to try to keep it max 10. But if
it's not a bill, Mr. President.
Okay.
Mr. President, I motion to add to the agenda in number 11, which would be the creation of a special committee on the Central Intelligence Agency.
What I can do is, instead of adding it as an item, we can vote on that after the Senate Confirmations Act, so we don't fill up the agenda. But we will vote on it at the end of this session.
All right.
All right. Are there any other motions or anything? Are we good?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I know that you stated that you don't want everyone here too long, and I respect that wholeheartedly. But with this potentially being my last session, I wanted to motion to add 3 bills to the agenda, if my colleagues would allow me.
I will allow for any second.
Second.
All right. We will vote to add the 3 bills to the agenda. The secretary will call the roll.
All right. On the passage of the agenda.
Point of order.
This is passage to add 3 additional bills to the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaine, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Abstain.
Mr. Woodland, your vote.
Abstain.
Mr. Leo, your vote.
Abstain.
Mr. President, with 4 yeas and 3 abstains, this motion passes.
Okay. I think Ruben already sent those bills. Are they already numbered?
I can number them now, actually.
Okay. If you could number them and then send them to Sal, and he will put them in the agenda.
Will do, and they're actually Senate bills.
Okay.
All right, I just saw it was highlighted.
Point of question.
The secretary was aware.
I don't believe it's a valid motion.
Oh, point of order. So for modifying the agenda, does that need 2/3 of the chamber?
I believe it got 2/3 of the chamber.
Okay. Just a question. Thank you.
All right. So while Ruben and Sal are fixing that, I suppose we can go ahead and move on to the first item of the agenda, which is S1.
Point of order.
Well, actually, we haven't approved the agenda. You're right. So we will wait. We'll actually wait for them to finish that, and then we will vote to approve the agenda.
Don't forget general remarks.
That also.
This is going to be a fun night.
And you guys better strap in.
My computer might have like a spaz attack trying to load all of this stuff at once.
If we want to go ahead, and since Sal, we can go ahead and approve the agenda as is. And I'll call the roll since Sal is busy fixing the agenda spreadsheet. So we will now vote on approving the agenda that we have been given today. Let's see. I will call the roll. Senator Kaine.
Aye.
Senator Sterling.
Aye.
Senator Caforio.
Aye.
Senator Webby.
Aye.
Senator Walsh, aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
Senator Leo.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda passes. Let's see. Do you think it would be a good idea for us to just go ahead and
Yeah, just
do
go to
opening
general
remarks? Okay.
Well, you have to motion to proceed.
Motion to proceed.
A second.
We haven't even opened the floor for general remarks.
That's what I would like to proceed to. So we will now open the
Um,
floor to general remarks.
I request the
does-
floor.
Request.
Senator Leo, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just first like to thank President Green for signing the Secure Airspace Act of 2017. It'll provide great more protection to the President and the White House itself. And I'm glad that the House got their act together and started to write some legislation. And I hope to see their continued success. And I hope that they'll continue to represent the values of the American people. I yield.
I request.
Senator Kaine, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to say that I am glad to see, once again, we're active as a chamber. We are holding our a fourth session within 14 days of this term, and we have 13 items on our agenda. I look forward, as I say in every general remarks, to having a open and a productive session, and I hope that tonight is rather quick. And I would also like to say that I will be at the end of this session motioning. I believe that the president already said that we would anyway. Motioning to create a special committee on the Central Intelligence Agency after the concern was brought up among many senators that the Central Intelligence Agency has been harassing senators after there was an incident with North Korea. I also find it a bit troubling that the president and the CIA director has allowed Mr. Rosie and his friends to establish themselves once again in the Central Intelligence Agency after the fact that the reason he was put into jail for several months was he got mad and leaked classified information to the public and then was put into prison. So I hope that tonight's productive, and I hope that we could go into investigating the reasoning behind why the CIA has hired Mr. Rosie and investigate why the CIA harassed several senators. With that, I yield.
I request.
Senator Sterling, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would first like to congratulate the Senate on having our fourth Senate session. It is truly remarkable. After today, we'll probably have had more sessions than the House will have their whole term. But on the right side, the House has started becoming more active. That is why I'd like to thank the House for holding the session. Hopefully, they can continue down this path. Secondly, I'd like to thank former House Minority Leader James for his service in the House of Representatives and House leadership. He was a great House leader. I must say he was great at organizing the caucus. He also held caucus meetings to unite the caucus and organize the caucus. I actually attended a couple and they were good meetings. Thirdly, I'd like to commend former Minority Whip Martin for resigning when he knew he does not have enough time for the House. Coming from a person that has had to do the same thing, it is hard. After being elected to the Senate, I had to resign 13 days after due to not having enough time, just like Minority Whip Martin. But he knew that the House's activity is more important than his personal ideals. I commend him again for that, and I look forward to seeing him in other fields. Additionally, I'd like to congratulate Senator McCain on becoming overseer. He'll be a good overseer. I would also like to congratulate the Senate Majority Whip on becoming the Senate Democrat Whip. He is a 9-term senator, former vice president, former speaker, and a former Senate Majority Leader. He's extremely experienced for the position. Finally, additionally, again, I would like to continually express the Senate Democrats' Whip's concerns about the CIA. It's really troubling, and I hope that the committee hearing tonight will be productive. Finally, hope we have a good and productive session. Thank you, my fellow senators, and Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Does anyone request?
Proceed.
Second. Oh, I retract my second.
Senator Caforio has the floor.
Firstly, I'd like to express again my great gratitude to the American people who have entrusted me with the incredible honor of serving as their United States Senator. Additionally, I'd like to congratulate Senator Kaine on not only just passing one law but two laws after serving as a public servant for more than a few years, actually. So congratulations to him. Furthermore, congratulations to Senator McCain. No, excuse me, Senator Kaine, not Senator Kaine, Senator Leo. Goodness gracious.
McCain.
McKay, that's the name. I could have. Thank you so much, Senator. But congratulations to Senator McKay on also passing bills. This has truly been one of the most outstanding Senate tenures that I've been a part of. Not only are we expedient in our efforts to pursue the American interests, but we're doing it not only in an expedient manner, but in an efficient manner, in an efficient manner. There we go. Goodness gracious, my southern accent, I guess. But anyways, I look forward to doing a lot of work, getting a lot of things accomplished, and then getting them accomplished in not only a partisan fashion, but making sure that we get them done in a unified fashion and as professional as possible. I thank my colleagues for attending tonight, and I look forward to moving America's agenda forward. With that, I yield and motion to proceed.
Second.
All right, we will now proceed. Is the agenda modified? All right, we will now move on to the first item of the agenda, which is S1119, the Equal Discovery Act, drafted by Senator Leo. The floor is open for discussion.
Request.
Senator Leo, you have the floor.
Okay, so our nation strives on having a efficient court system, and in order for both sides to have a fair argument on the case, they both need their discovery files made made known to them from the opposing sides. And the judge also has a responsibility to make sure that these discovery files are given to both of the sides. So this bill essentially, if the prosecution has to send their discovery file to the judge presiding over trial 24 hours before the trial is set to begin, and if the defense has any evidence, they also have to send their discovery file. And then the judge, once this happens, he has to send the discovery files 12 hours before the trial is set to begin. And so basically, if prosecution doesn't send their evidence, if they try to use a piece of evidence that is not in the discovery file, the first time the evidence will be struck from the record, and the second time they do it, the trial will be declared mistrial. And if the defense has evidence, but that they did not send in, the same standards apply. If the first time they try to use it, the evidence it will be struck from the record, and the second time they use it, it will be declared mistrial. And if the judge fails to provide the discovery files within 12 hours, at least 12 hours before the trial set to begin, he has to provide a written statement stating why that happened, and the trial will be pushed back. And then until both parties have been sent the discovery files. And if both the prosecution and defense, if defense has any, if they fail to send their discovery files to the judge at least 24 hours for the trial, then the trial will be pushed back until both parties have received the discovery file. Sent the files to the judge. So this bill is a common sense bill that will help to make a more fair and efficient justice system that we so want to, and we strive for in our nation. I yield.
Does anyone request? Senator Kaforio, you have the floor.
I'd like to pose a question to the gentleman from New York,
Does the gentleman yield?
California, and sure.
Okay. Please excuse me. The senator from California. I know that as a former career prosecutor, sometimes it's often hard to communicate evidence in an expedient manner because either it doesn't suit the convenience of the prosecution or the defense. Is there a clause in this bill, or an understanding rather, that the 12-hour understanding can be waived if mutually agreed upon by the prosecution and the defense?
No, there is not a clause saying that.
Would you be opposed to me proposing an amendment to add the clause?
Saying that they would be able to waive that 12-hour rule.
Essentially.
No, I would not be opposed to that.
With that, Mr. President, if allowed, I'd like to amend the gentleman's bill. Let me find the exact article where we can place it. Here it is.
If I may, section 6, there's an exemption section.
Oh yeah, there's an exemption section if you want to put it in there, Senator Caforio. Section 6.
Okay. Should we make a I'd amend the bill to create section 6, subsection 3, to state the following. In the event that the prosecution and defense mutually agree to waive the requirement specified in section 1, subsection 1, in section 6, subsection 1, then section 6, subsection 1 shall not apply.
Is that an official motion to amend?
I'd like to second the motion.
We will now vote on the motion to amend this legislation. The Secretary will call the roll.
On the Equal Discovery Act, S.1119. On the amendment to that.
Yes.
Mr. Kaine, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland, your vote. Did he post it in the chat?
Mr. Woodland.
Hold on.
No, he did not.
He voted aye.
Said aye.
Yes, he just did.
Mr. McKay.
Would I be able to ask a question before I vote?
Go for it.
Mr. President? Okay. I believe that he meant to when the amendment states in the event that prosecution and defense mutually agree to waive the requirement specified in section 6 subsection 1, I think he means section 3. Section 4 subsection 3. Which states the presiding judge must send the discovery files received from the prosecution to defense and vice versa, at least 12 hours before the trial set to begin.
Indeed. And with that, I'd second the senator's motion, the amendment that the senator placed forward.
We will vote again, and the Secretary will call the roll.
I'm so confused.
It was just a simple modification. It's the same motion.
On the amendment on the bill. Mr. Kaine, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webby, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland, your vote. He votes aye.
He votes aye.
Mr. McKay, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. President, this motion passes.
The motion passes. The amendment passes. Does anyone like to speak on this bill?
I motion to proceed.
I second.
Second.
We will now vote on this bill, and the Secretary will call the roll.
Mr. Kaine, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. McKay, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. President Pro Tempore, this bill passes.
All right, and I would like to thank Mr. Woodland for his enthusiastic vote. We will now move on to item number 2, which is S1117, Federal Electoral Commission Act of 2017, drafted by Senator DaveJMitchell. The floor is open for discussion.
Motion to proceed.
Second.
Second.
We will now proceed to a vote, and the secretary will call the roll.
On item 2, Mr. Kane,
Yes.
your vote.
Nay.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Nay.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Nay.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
I think that was a nay that he voted.
Oh.
Was that Webby?
Yeah, I
Okay.
voted nay.
Sorry. All right. Mr. Walsh, your vote.
I vote nay.
Mr. Woodland, your vote.
Nay.
Mr. Leo, your vote.
Abstain.
Mr. President, this bill fails.
All right. We will now move on to S1120, Securing America for Everyone Act of 2017, drafted by Senator TerenceWalsh. And with that, I would like to yield the floor.
You mean the chair?
I'm sorry, the chair to Senator Sterling. And I request the floor.
You have the floor, Senator.
Thank you very much. Immigration is something that we've had in our country for a long time. We failed at addressing it, and we haven't really found a solution or work to improve it. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been speaking to a lot of national security experts on how to improve our immigration system, and the product is the SAFE Act, Securing America for Everyone of 2017 Act, I guess. This bill pretty much outlines the overall objective of immigration czars and states that the president submits the standards for promotion of immigration to citizenship to the Congress for approval. It also ensures that we don't encounter a David Axelrod incident because it bars recent NYT citizens from holding public office for 20 days. Something a lot of new people coming to the U.S. have an issue with is obtaining citizenship. So whenever their place in immigration failed, they're stuck there for pretty much eternity. So this bill establishes a system where failed immigrants can appeal their decision to the court system and have their voice heard in a court of law. Mr. President, immigration is an issue largely avoided by politicians because of its complexity and difficulty, but myself and others have decided to deal with this issue head on and really make some major changes. So after this passed the Homeland Security Intelligence Committee with unanimously, well, of those attending unanimously 3-0, I urge everyone in Congress to pass this legislation so that we can improve such an important area in our government, and I yield the floor.
Senator Kane, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would like to thank Senator Walsh for spearheading this bill that is before us today, the Securing America for Everyone Act. As a sponsor of this piece of legislation, I would like to say that this bill has been very well thought out. I know that Senator Walsh and others, including myself, have spent a lot of time trying to perfect this bill and tackle the issue of immigration, which has plagued our group for a very long time. And I hope that the Senate will pass this unanimously, and I hope that this piece of legislation will go into law and fix the issues that our immigration system currently has. And with that, I yield.
Motion to receive.
Second.
We will now proceed to vote. Mr. Secretary, can you call the roll? Thank you.
On item 3, Mr. Kane, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote. Mr. Caforio,
Aye.
Mr. Webster,
Aye.
Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Woodland,
Aye.
Mr. K.
Aye.
This bill passes.
All right. I would like to thank Senator Sterling for presiding for a short period.
Thank you.
So I take the chair and I move on to the next item, which is item number 4, S1121, the Council Restriction Act of 2017, drafted by Sal 514. I would like to motion to allow Sal 514 to speak on this bill should he want to.
Second.
Second.
All right. We will now vote on the motion to allow Sal to speak on this bill. And the secretary will call the roll.
Mr. Kane, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. McKay, your vote.
Aye.
All right. So, Mr.
Hold on.
Yeah, what's your last? Patterson? I don't know. You have the floor if you'd like to speak on your bill.
I believe he just went AFK.
Okay,
there he is. Okay, you have the floor if you'd like to speak.
Okay, on the Council Restriction Act, basically, I made this bill because I think that members of our government should be focusing on their jobs rather than counseling a defendant in the trial. Currently, our CIA director is involved in a defense attorney, and he's like actively seeking out people. I think that this should not be allowed because it could be a conflict of interest if I had to call the CIA director in for testimony. So just defining who cannot be allowed to counsel a defendant in a trial would be good for the Department of Justice and for trials in general. That's all.
Does anyone else request?
Our
Proceed.
request.
Senator Kane, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the Attorney General for presenting this piece of legislation and echo what he has to say about the fact that it is a bit troubling, in my opinion, that the CIA director took upon himself to open a law agency instead of focusing all of his attention solely to the Central Intelligence Agency, which is currently, in my opinion, in a state of uncertainty among this body. With that, I think that this bill is definitely needed. I don't believe that anyone in the executive branch or in an agency that is an executive agency should be diverting their time from their jobs. And I would like to say that I do believe what the Attorney General said is true, that it would create a conflict of interest if, say, that the director of the FBI was a defense attorney for a criminal and he needed to be called to the stand. And then, in my opinion, it would just create a mess. So I hope that this body votes for this bill. I yield.
Motion to proceed.
Second.
Senator Caforio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As much as I admire the Attorney General's efforts in making sure that counsel remains focused and both impartial, especially those that are in offices in the government, I simply feel as though that should be, excuse me, I feel as if excuse me, I definitely feel as if those in the executive should not be able to practice law. Well, excuse me, counsel or defendant. but individuals who well, three things, excuse me. Firstly, I don't feel as though it's this governing body's duty to micromanage the time of any other individual. Um, Now, number two, with respect to impartiality, I feel as though anyone involved in the case that is, somehow responsible for how it is governed, I feel as though the judge is able to make that decision of removing them from the case, um, rather than rather than placing it into law, barring them permanently from advising uh, individuals, because it, truly can be a friend. I feel as though conflicts of interests should be determined case by case in the court of law in front of a judge and the prosecution and the defendant. But I don't feel as though it's this body's jurisdiction to intervene in that process of how we choose to execute law or administer it to others in need. So, with that, as much as I respect the Attorney General greatly, this is a bill that I cannot vote in favor of, given that I believe firmly it's not this government's or this governing body's, excuse me, jurisdiction to intervene in the court of law. Um, because if I simply don't feel as if one size fits all policies benefit the American interest or the American public. And it's probably why schools all across this country are so bad, but we won't get into that. But I don't feel as if it's this body's duty to intervene in those cases, and I feel as though those cases and who should be dismissed from the case because of conflict of interests should be left up to the judge, depending on the case and the content of that case. So it's with that I express again that I won't be voting in favor of it, but I wish the Attorney General all the best in his efforts to ensure that the court remains integrity oriented and efficient as possible for both the prosecution and the defendant. With that, I yield.
Does anyone request?
I request.
Senator Sterling, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, my fellow senators. Originally coming to the discussion, I was going to vote in favor of this bill, but after hearing the senior senator from from Florida's remarks, now I've decided to vote against it simply because of what he said, and I encourage all my fellow senators to do the same. Even though I respect the author of this bill deeply, Attorney General Patterson, and he was a former speaker, and I served under him as majority leader, so I know him well. He's a good person. I respect him immensely, but I just cannot vote in favor of this bill. I yield the floor. Motion to proceed.
I request.
Senator Kane, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask a brief question for my knowledge to Senator Caforio, if I may.
If the senator yields, okay, you can.
I commend you for your statement on this bill and bringing up a point of view that I had not considered. But my question is, if a defense attorney is found in a situation where it may be deemed a conflict of interest, is it allowed for the defense attorney to be removed from the case?
Is that too?
Well, thank you personally for the. Oh, that was. Yeah, I believe it was Attorney General, but thank you. Firstly, I appreciate your question there, Senator Kane. To my knowledge of serving in the courts, serving in the courtroom, there is no law that prohibits the judge from dismissing certain members from any part of the case, whether it's the defense or the prosecution. As I reiterated earlier, I feel as though every case is different. And again, I don't believe in the one-size-fits-all policies. So because I believe every case has a different angle, I feel as though it's the judge's obligation to ensure that integrity is held in the court. And if he feels that in order to protect the integrity of the court that he needs to remove one of the counselors, then by all means feel free to do so. I just want to make sure that it's not on a discriminatory basis. But I feel as though, again, that should be a decision left up to the court, the judge, because again, every case is different, and I don't believe firmly in the one-size-fits-all policies that govern Washington today.
I would like to ask the Attorney General a question, if I may.
Sure.
Mr. Attorney General, just to reiterate what Mr. Caforio said, it is possible for a defense attorney to be removed from a case if there is a conflict of interest, correct?
Well, it would, like Mr. Caforio said, it depends on the trial. I agree with what he says, that not there's no one size fits all, and that there may be a case where someone in the executive may need to defend someone, but yeah.
So a judge is able to remove a defense attorney from a case if there is a conflict of interest, correct?
I cannot say with 100% certainty, but
is it to your understanding that that is the case, though?
I would say one attorney may argue that attorney-client privilege, that he's already sworn his allegiance to the defendant, and so for that reason he cannot like get on the stand for the prosecution in a case such as that.
But if he's able to be removed from the case as a defense attorney, it wouldn't be an attorney-client privilege issue, correct?
No.
Okay. I would like to speak to the bill. I was in the same standpoint that Senator Sterling was in at the beginning of the session, that I was going to vote in favor, and I spoke in favor of the bill. However, Senator Caforio brought up a very good point that we cannot legislate one-size-fit-all policies, and I would like to thank him for bringing that perspective into this discussion. So I do believe that this bill does have very good intentions, but I will be voting against it. Now, I yield.
My motion to proceed.
Second.
All right. We will now proceed to a vote, and the secretary will call the roll.
Name.
Nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
Abstain.
I vote aye.
All right. We will now move on to item number 5, S1122, the Armed Forces Reserves Act, presented by Senator Webby 678, and the floor is open for discussion.
I'd like to request the floor.
You have the floor.
So the premise behind this bill, not only will, from what I understand in working with the Defense Department staff specifically on this bill, but also promoting military activity and a sense of urgency due to the recent events with North Korea, which this was actually created beforehand, but seems fitting, timely. It essentially outlines the ability for a citizen of the United States, as well as a member of a specific department that wishes to serve in the military, but not fully dedicate their time to the military, or unable to because of specific circumstances. For example, a member of Congress or a member of the Metropolitan Police Department or FBI. In essence, no reserve officer will be able to serve in a major staff or divisional command, which would be about the rank of a brigadier general, which also require Senate confirmations, and would be a conflict with the requirements of oath of office in the United States Constitution. Basically, it allows people to serve willingly and freely for the military, and it in theory will help promote the size of our military and the combat readiness of our military. There's also a provision inside of the bill that requires members of the reserve forces to actively train on a bi-weekly basis, I believe, so that they are staying up to and in compliance with military standards set by those the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps. And there are other provisions creating larger reserve forces commands, which at this time don't seem necessary. However, if the request from the Department of Defense comes up, it can be implemented in a timely manner. And with that, I yield the floor, Mr. President.
Motion to
Does-
proceed.
I request.
Senator Caforio, you have the floor.
I'd first like to commend the senator for proposing this bill, and not just this bill, but so many others that have pertained to the restoration of our Department of Defense, the United States Marines, the United States Army, so on and so forth. So I tip off my hat to you because certainly in my career I haven't been able to find the creativity nor the input from the military needed to craft a military reform bill such as this one. So to Senator Webby, I congratulate you immensely on your extreme focus on the United States military and the United States military related entities. I've read the bill. Not only does it give the president another set of resources to use in times of peace or in times of unrest, but it also does require the check and balances system, where Congress does have to approve of the president using that reserves entity. So it's with that I'd ask my colleagues vote unanimously in favor of this military reform effort and support Senator Webby in the future in his efforts to reform the military and making it a primary concern of this governing body. It's with that I yield and motion to proceed.
Second.
All right. We will now proceed. Before we proceed, actually, I just want to mention that the secretary will not be able to finish out the session, but what we'll do is we'll just call in Martin to act as secretary, but actually, never mind. Yeah, we'll call in Martin to act as secretary, and we'll have to move the stream to a different link and then continue the session there. So with that, we will proceed to a vote. The secretary will call the roll.
All right. Item 5, S.1122, the Armed Forces Reserve Act. Mr. Kane, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Sterling, your vote. Mr. Sterling, your vote.
Aye, sorry, my computer just shut off.
Mr. Caforio, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Webster, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Leo, your vote.
I proudly vote aye.
This bill passes 7-0.
I motion to proceed. I motion for a 5-minute recess to set up the new stream if the secretary has to leave right now.
All right. We will go into recess for 5 minutes to let everybody know that's watching. We will be moving to a stream with Martin hosting, so check out the USA Shout for the new link, and we'll also post it in the Discord. So we are now in recess.
And I will post it in the description of the alt stream.
So we are in recess until